Now, onto matters of great import. More important than anything else we've discussed tonight is
By far.
by far not even close, and we're not even joking. We take our Lord of the Rings very, very seriously around here.
Yes.
Big news, obviously. Well, I say obviously, maybe some people don't know, but Amazon is in the process of producing a Lord of the Rings TV show, which I'm racked with anxiety about because Lord of the Rings has a special place for, I think, a lot of people of our generation because we grew up with it. We grew up with the movies. I grew up with the books as well. So did Anton, with our dad reading it to us and then us exploring the universe. The emotional connection I feel with those movies and the books is strong.
I remember seeing the trailer for the first time for the Fellowship of the Ring, man.
Incredible.
And then countless hours of pretending to be, characters from Lord of the Rings running around
pretending to be Aragorn. Yeah, exactly. So this we were excited by this news when it was announced, but we were also a little bit scared because the potential for Amazon to mess this up is huge. And I am glad that they haven't done anything in the third age, which is the age that Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are set in. They have done it in they've gone back. So this is what's just been announced. The series will take place in the second age, which is really cool. So this is the period leading up to the start of the Fellowship of the Ring, where you see the Númenóreans and the elves fighting Sauron under Mount Doom, and then Isildur cuts off Sauron's fingers, and etc., etc., etc. We know what happens from there. And this is really exciting for me because there is so much you can do here. It's a really interesting time, and it's a time that's not very well known because of the books everyone knows and loves is Lord of the Rings and The Hobbits, but you've got lots of other books that Tolkien wrote that explore these earlier ages. Silmarillion. It's an area that I really am looking forward to being explored on screen. I think that's really exciting. And I've made some notes here about what it is exactly that they're going to be covering, or what they think they're going to cover. Essentially, it's going to involve potentially characters that will be reappearing who did feature in the movies. So you've potentially got Elrond and Galadriel. That's really cool. So sort of them at an earlier point in their lives.
Are two of the three, elves of power. So they
exactly rings of power.
Who've been around for a long time. So
exactly. So and the second. Yeah, and the second age is sort of the period from the banishment of Morgoth, who is sort of Sauron's tutor and master. He's defeated by the elves and he's banished. And then there's this period of peace, and then Sauron reappears. He begins to grow in power. He creates the rings for the men, for the dwarves, for the elves, but he creates the One Ring as well. And then you've got all the lead up. So we might see maybe we're going from peace to Sauron slowly emerging. Barad-dûr was built. The massive tower was built during that time. The One Ring is forged during this time. The ring wraiths are created. It would be really cool to see how the kings are corrupted and become the ring wraiths. There's the rise of Númenor happens during this time. So there's so much that could be happening here. And I'll stop talking and let you talk for a minute. It's so exciting because there's so much here
that they could go on without
they could go with
ruining other characters. Because that's a problem I've had with Star Wars, where there's been overlap, but it's too recent and they've ruined characters and the Solo film springs instantly to mind. Just how it just created backstory and aspects to loved characters that we didn't need.
It didn't work. It just undid all the excitement and mystery that was Solo.
So that's why I'm happy that it is same world but far enough apart. There will be overlapping characters, but Elrond and Lady Galadriel, Gandalf, these are characters who, of course, would span ages. One thing I'm quite interested about is the island kingdom of Númenor, and I think in the lore, Sauron makes gets imprisoned by them, but then kind of corrupts a bunch of them. That's where the Black Númenóreans come from, which the mouth of Sauron is a Black Númenórean.
He is, isn't he? Exactly.
Sure. And then he leads then he kind of, I think he corrupts the kingdom of Numenor, and I think he tries to convince the Numenorians, to sail to the Undying Lands or something like that, which then leads to the kind of the gods, or whatever, sinking the island of Numenor, and like destroying the island of Numenor. And that'd be a cool kind of subject to go around.
Yeah, I mean,
there's just a lot there. There's just a lot of lore there, which I want to see. I want to see it, but don't fuck it up, please,
please don't fuck it up, please. No, I mean, this is the thing. There is literally endless opportunity for exploration, and the Middle Earth, and not just Middle Earth, because obviously Middle Earth is just where the events of the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit are set, but the wider world of Lord of the Rings is it's so rich, it's so exciting. There's so much you could do here. So, you know, Amazon has the money. No one debates that Amazon has the money. That's cool. It's so just,
we know it's going to look pretty. We know it's high budget. It's going to look nice, but we need. And then one thing which I kind of want is the Lord of the Rings world is so large and diverse. One thing I think which is good about The Hobbit, which of course The Hobbit is a story, of course it would be different locations, but the fact that it was exploring kind of pretty much, apart from Rivendell maybe, and the Misty Mountains a bit, kind of a completely different area of
Middle Earth,
that just isn't explored. So
in Lord of the Rings,
which isn't explored in Lord of the Rings. So one thing I'd really like is, although, and I just hope they don't fall for this, like, Minas Tirith Easter egg, you know. Another thing we've already seen. I want to really explore the world. That's why the island of Numenor. We haven't seen that, mainly because I don't think it exists at the time of the Third Age. But
it's
a cool place to go. You know, the elf. You know, let's have a closer look at Elven society, because they're kind of, you know, although they've got strong like individual characters, we don't really see what their society is like.
Yeah, exactly. You're right.
And dwarf and orc societies kind of are flesh or goblin. You know, the Goblin King. Even though the CGI was a bit questionable, you know, we actually look into these societies a bit more. I'd be interested in seeing, you know, more on that maybe. And like it says here, to the furthest reaches of the map. I wanna explore the world.
See it all.
See it all. Classic hitters that we've seen before. That would work, but I want a bit more kind of exploration and you know, it just creativity with it.
Yeah, be adventurous, be daring. You know, why wouldn't you? Well, you know, what have you got to lose? Nothing. And the thing is, you've got a baked-in fan base, because it's mainly suckers like us.
Yeah,
you know, it's gonna be watched.
You have all the money.
Yeah, you will have all. I hate Amazon, and I will support them because of this, and it kills me inside, but I will. And this is the thing: you're gonna make money. So do the brave thing. Don't just pussyfoot around it and be like, oh well, we can't be too daring. No, go for it. Be exciting, be different, explore new things, and I think we could have something really, really special here. And I think we could potentially have our next Game of Thrones, but hopefully without the ginormous cock up that was Game of Thrones. You know.
Yeah.
So fingers crossed. Fingers crossed. Unfortunately, I do know that one of the episodes they've just finished filming. Was directed by one of the directors of the recent Jurassic Park movies, which doesn't fill me with a huge amount of confidence, because those movies were bad. is probably the way to put it. Bad.
In a word.
Exactly. So, but you know, that's not to say that director won't do an excellent job on an episode for Lord of the Rings. So I'm very hopeful. I'm very excited. I'm excited with the scope of this. I'm excited by the funding they've got available. You know, they can make this really something awesome.
And there's no excuse for them not to.
No, exactly. One thing I do hope is they go with more of the Lord of the Rings style than the Hobbit style, because the Hobbit style with all the CGI was very, very cartoony. And whilst I love the Lord of the Rings and I love the Hobbit book, I did not like the Hobbit movies apart from the first one, because it became a cartoon.
Danger.
Yeah, and that's a problem with a lot of movies these days. And we might talk about The Hobbit at a later point, but those were very disappointing movies, and I think they were very disappointing movies for a lot of people for a pretty clear set of reasons. And I hope that Amazon doesn't fall into the trap of doing something like that. So we'll see.
And then piggybacking off of that, I really want to see them take up. Now it didn't happen in The Hobbit really so much. That and in throughout Lord of the Rings, there's always been a kind of comedic, kind of light-hearted themes throughout. Think Merry and Pippin, think Fili and Kili or whatever. Jokes and all that. But I don't want it to go kind of Marvel level. And I have, that happened with Star Wars. That happens with a lot. The great thing about Lord of the Rings is it takes itself seriously, and it is, and that's what makes it so immersive and so good. And I'd really hate for it to kind of have be Marvel-y in any way. Marvel has its place, but not here. And we saw with how Star Wars kind of went that way a little bit, kind of making like jokes here. We don't want that,
No, we don't need that. That's not
Rings, but but an exploration of this world, kind of keep it to that tone. And we all want a Merry and Pippin character. That's some of my favorite characters and all that. But let's not go overboard in that way. I'm not saying they will, but that's just a worry that I kind of saw with the latest Star Wars films, where and what I think is quite good about this is there isn't really the Silmarillion and the other books that
Children of Huron, all this sort of stuff.
Much more kind of like histories, so they're kind of broader themes. There are specific, although he does name drop specific people, obviously. He kind of made encyclopedias of the world, and I think
it's broad brush. It's broad brush.
Yeah, exactly. It's
so you can interpret that in a number of different ways. It gives you lots of material without being too specific. So then you can be specific based off of that, which is good.
Got a whole world of creativity there, and I'd really like it. And I think that's an advantage to the directors and all that, because they won't Tamriel or whatever her name is. Tariel. People won't complain about characters getting shoehorned in, because let's face it, Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit are some of the most read books in the world. You don't have that problem of having to shoehorn characters in. You've got a whole lot of creativity here.
You can take some liberties and it not be quite as egregious as tightly structured books like The Lord of the Rings and The Hobbit. And I think that works to their advantage. And I would, provided they do it intelligently, and don't try and shoehorn in a stupid romance or something,
or a triangle. We don't.
Yeah, something like that is obviously not going to work. But if they're intelligent, they can blend times and stories together as part of a TV show to tell a concise story whilst covering all these things.
Got more time, because it is in the TV show format.
Exactly.
They can build on themes. They can stretch things out. They can, build suspense, and it isn't at that. Because the pace of the last couple, I think it's Battle of the Five Armies one, is so bloody light.
Hobbit,
Let's watch the extended version, but the actual theatrical version, it's wait, how did they get that? What?
No, you're right, because like you said in the Last Hobbit, it's why are they on goats now? And this stuff is oh, hold on, what's happening here? Oh, there's an elf on a moose, and you're what's happening? Wow! And it was very odd. Whereas, like you say, with a TV show, you don't have to cram everything in at once, and it's exciting. So we'll see. It's really exciting, and I'm looking forward to it, and we'll see what happens.